I am an artisan. My work is to be able to give inspiration. I have 3 children that are working with me in the winery. I try to teach them to be able to think different, to cultivate doubts and having a passion. Passion is like the windscreen wiper. It doesn't stop the rain to fall, but it helps to go on and on.
Hi, I'm Gaia.
And I'm Giovanni.
With our sister Rossana and with our parents Angelo and Lucia, we bring forward our family wineries. Working with families has advantages and disadvantages. I don't believe that family businesses are the best in the world, but I believe in their peculiar value. Family businesses are a guarantee of more continuity because families are a keeper of tradition, of a taste, of a style, of an ethic that more likely can continue generation after generation.
We were born in Barbaresco, which is a unique territory with an authentic farming culture and a historic link to the land. Our family history is also unusual because we come from 4 generations before us who have been pioneers and visionaries.
Giovanni is, like Angelo as well, are very common names in our family. So Giovanni was also the name of the founder of our winery. He was a farmer cultivating grapes, but has been also one of the very first farmers that transitioned from being simply a producer of grapes, selling them to negotiants, into also a producer of wine. This was very unusual for the time, and he anticipated over 100 years a trend that then became very strong in this area.
His son Angelo followed his footsteps, and Angelo married a very important woman in our family, a woman of great ambition and great personality. So severe and strict that in the family she was considered almost like a general. Her name was Clotilde Rey, and she was important because she instilled in her husband Angelo and in her son Giovanni the concept of producing luxury wines. Wines to be opened only on special occasions. She was fundamental because she was the one that pushed them to elevate the quality of the wines.
Angelo and Clotilde had a son, which is our grandfather, Giovanni, and he continued the project of his parents, and he was the right person at the right moment, because our grandfather, which we have a lot of memories of, because he died in 2002, he didn't just believe in Barbaresco, he had an irrational faith on the fact that Barbaresco was the best wine in the world. And in a moment when there was not so much attention in the area, with his strong belief, he started to select and buy some of the most beautiful vineyards that we have today. In a moment when there was no competition, because the few people that were buying land, they were going straight to Barolo, they were not interested into Barbaresco. So he did something very important for us. We are very grateful to him. Also, he was defending his Barbaresco, and he only was presenting his Barbaresco at the best. So every time there was a vintage that was not a great vintage, he was not bottling the wine. He was selling it in bulks to other producers. And this was a big sacrifice, also because the weather was very different from today. It was colder, was complicated to always achieve a full ripeness of the grapes. So sometimes he was keeping 2-3 vintages in a row. But that became a very important decision, because little by little his name became a synonym of reliability, of quality, and Barbaresco started to grow its reputation.
Our grandfather in 1937 designed a different label, also unique for the time. It was the first label in which he put the name Gaia written big on the top of the label. This was showing and conveying a very important message, because he was saying that it was shifting the importance on the producer, and he was saying that if you were buying a bottle of Gaia, that itself was already a guarantee. The black and white label that we have today originated from this label of 1937. The format is always the same. Gaia is always written big on the top of the label, but through the years we cleaned it up, arriving to a very essential design only made with two colors, black and white. Black represents the past. You cannot write anything on the past because the past is untouchable. The white instead represents the present and the future, and we can write our own future on the white.
It's a label that I don't think we can change anymore because there's nothing we can take out from it, and it's very minimal and it's very essential. And this is not just a concept of design, but is a concept that we like and we have in everything, also in winemaking. Taking away whatever is superficial and arriving to the essence of things is for me the real luxury. Arriving to the essence and the quintessence of the place. Our father Angelo joined our grandfather in 1961. At the time he already had an excellent reputation, he already had some beautiful vineyards in his estate, and he went forward with his own individual project and very personal style. For our father, uniqueness and diversity are very crucial and important. Our father is someone that hates rhetoric, doesn't like the adherence to the most banal cliché. So for someone with this personality, the project of bringing forward Nebbiolo in the world and make Barbaresco shine was the perfect project.
If you think like the other ones, you become like the other ones. This is what our father tells us every single day until we finally learn it.
It was almost unthinkable in the 60s, 70s that there was a space for Nebbiolo in a world where fine wines were based of Bordeaux varieties. Very few people knew Nebbiolo, and Italy unfortunately was known for mediocre quality wines.
Our family always had a very strong belief and confidence, but our father taught us with his example every day. He taught us not to be dogmatic, to believe, but always leave space for doubt. Doubt that what you're doing is always 100% correct. Because doubt is the only thing that allows you to improve and to get better. Cultivating doubt is one of the pillars of our philosophy.
The wine that is representing our family at the best, and you probably got that by now, is Barbaresco. That's the wine that every generation made and we continue to make. Barbaresco is Nebbiolo coming from 14 different vineyards, so it's a blend of different sites, has always been the habit in the area. But in the 60s, my father was also one of the very first producers in the area that introduced a different concept, the concept of single vineyards. And so today we produce 3 single vineyards Barbaresco. Sori San Lorenzo, that was produced starting from 1967, and then Sori Tildin and Costa Russi.
In 1988 we made our first purchase in the Barolo area, and we bought a property in Serralunga where we produce a single vineyard called Spers. Then in 1996 we bought another property, this time in La Morra, where we produce another single vineyard that is called Contesa.
We also think that the area has an incredible potential for making serious white wines that they can age and they can be complex as the red wines of the region. So in the last 40 years we have been producing Gaia, which is named after me, Rossi Bas, named after our sister Rossana, Altini di Brassica, and these are our Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc wines.
I'm the only one who doesn't have a wine dedicated, but give me a few years and I'll fix that.
And apart from our whites, we also produce a Cabernet Sauvignon. We have a tiny vineyard of Cabernet planted in the center of the village. It was the first Cabernet ever planted here. That was 1978. And the name of this wine is Darmagi, that in our dialect means what a shame. And is what our grandfather was shouting every time he was looking at this vineyard that my father planted under his house. But the soul of our winery is and continue to be Nebbiolo, a variety that at the same time has a warm and austere character, a variety that is so discreet and so intriguing that can represent at the best the complexity of our territory with all its steepness, altitude, exposures. It's a unique variety. It's an honor for us to bring forward our winery in Barbaresco, as well as the two projects that in the 90s we started in Toscana.
Keeping my father at bay is practically impossible. He is an endless source of excitement, energy, and intuition. You get old when the regrets are more than the dreams. This is what my father always keeps saying, and he is a big dreamer. In the 1990s, we expanded our horizons in Tuscany with a first step in Montalcino in 1994, followed by a second step in Bolgheri in 1996.
In Montalcino in 1994 we bought a winery called Pieve Santa Restituta. It was a great opportunity because the vineyards are located in the southwest side of the denomination at Middle Hill, in an area where the weather is very breezy and dry and sunny, so perfect for Sangiovese. The vineyards are developing around a church, which is a very humble parish church, but has a very ancient history. The Church of Santa Restituta, that's where the winery takes its name, is a church that existed already in the 600 after Christ and is devoted to Santa Restituta, which was a martyr from Carthago. The land around the old church of Santa Restituta has always been cultivated and has always been lived for centuries. And I like the idea that the roots of vines are going down deep through the layers of civilization. It's a church that has been owned by the clergy for a long time, up to 1973. And then the land was sold to a man, Roberto Bellini, that recovered the estate, and when he retired in 1994, he passed it to our family.
When we first purchased the property, the previous owner was producing an array of different wines. One Rosso di Montalcino, one Brunello Riserva, and even a Vinsanto. When we came, we decided to focus only on Brunello di Montalcino, and we introduced two single vineyards that are called Rennina and Sugaril. This was another different decision because the concept of single vineyard is something that is more typical of Barbaresco and the Barolo area. It's something that is not very typical in Tuscany, but it was our way to give our own interpretation of this area.
In 2005, we could buy another vineyard on the other side of the denomination, in the northeast side, and we started to produce a third Brunello. And with an eye always careful on climate change, in the last 3 years, we could buy two vineyards very important for us because are higher in altitude. One vineyard of 5 hectares, beautifully surrounded by 65 hectares of ancient woods, rich of biodiversity, is a very interesting place. And a second vineyard, again of 5 hectares, which we just planted, but is very promising. Promising because it's in the highest, or one of the highest areas of the denomination, and it has a great soil, rich of stones and galestro. We are very excited in the next years to show you the quality coming from the new vineyards. After Pieve Santa Restituta, in 1996 started our project Ca'Marcanda, the winery that we have on the coast of Toscana. To fall in love with Bolgheri, it's very easy, and we felt in love immediately. Bolgheri is a place of effortless beauty. The simple things, like the brightness of the light, the perfume of the breeze, the view on the sea, they seem to be harmless, but they are very powerful thing on the mind. When you are in Bolgheri, you are pervaded by a sense of happiness and optimism. The project started to develop in '96 and was completed in 2000.
Ca'Marcanda was designed totally from zero. The negotiations to buy the land lasted for a very long time, and when we finally managed to close the deal, we decided to call it Ca'Marcanda, which is a word that comes from the Piedmontese dialect that in English can be translated into the house of endless negotiations. The construction of the winery has been inspired by the untouched beauty of the surrounding area, and therefore Ca'Marcanda is a winery that has been built for almost 2/3 underneath the ground. Ca'Marcanda is a winery that is almost impossible to spot from the outside with the naked eye, because it has been surrounded by 350 plants of olive trees on top of the traditional Mediterranean scrub present in the area.
The label takes inspiration from the Cypress Boulevard of Bolgheri, a true monument of nature made by man, like wine. But it also has a very deep meaning for us, because whoever built the boulevard didn't do it for themselves. Cypress takes a lifelong to grow. So they did it for the people coming after them. And in agriculture, this is a very important message. We have to remember that what we do today has repercussion, who's going to come after us, and have to be beautiful repercussions. The goal in Ca'Marcanda is to make wines that they express the authentic character of the region. What we love of the wines of Bolgheri is their freshness, due to the winds that are constantly blowing from the mountains to the sea. The perfume of the wines, that is a recall of the Mediterranean scrubs that are pervading the area. The sapidity of the wines, thanks to the proximity to the sea, and also the fresh, the expressed fruit, the juiciness, the creaminess, thanks to the bright light that in Bolgheri comes, yes, from the sky, but also is reflected from the sea inside. This is what we like to find in our wines in Bolgheri, and we express it with our usual rigor, precision, and particular attention to drinkability, to freshness, hopefully to an elegance.
We produce 4 different wines in Ca'Marcanda. Vista Mare, which is the only white that we produce. Promise, which is meant to be the most friendly and smiley face of the winery. Magari, which is focused on Cabernet Franc, which in Bolgheri is one of the varieties that it's finding some of its most beautiful results. And finally, Ca'Marcanda, which is dedicated to the most noble variety, that is Cabernet Sauvignon.
Our last project, which is still a work in progress, is IDDA, the joint venture between our family and the family of Gracchi, excellent producers from Etna in Sicily. With the Gracchi family, we took the unorthodox approach of going on the southwest slope of the Vulcano, the less renowned, and to focus on a white grape instead of Nerello Mascalese, which covers the 80% of the vineyards on Etna. We decided to focus on Carricante, a variety that for us has an incredible future ahead. That can make wines of a vibrant electricity, almost, of a freshness and a complexity that we think has a great potential. We called the winery Idda. Idda in Sicilian dialect means she. And we realized that the locals, when they refer to the Vulcano Etna, they call it she. So Etna is not just a mountain, are not just stones and rocks, but Etna is an entity, a breathing being that is capricious, maternal, fertile, but also very moody and can be very aggressive, and is a she that the Etna people have to deal with all their life.
What is connecting together the wines of Gaia, Pieve Santa Restituta, Ca'Marcanda and Idda? I believe that our style is based on sobriety and discretion. And sobriety and discretion are the two fundamentals that defines every aspect of our work and our philosophy. We communicate mostly through our wines.
Sobriety and discretion is also in the architecture of our wineries, hidden underground, not exposed, beautiful, but first of all functional. Sobriety is also the style of our wines, favoring ageability, drinkability, freshness, and is also the philosophy in the vineyards, less intervention, less touching. I can synthesize our viticulture by saying that we don't cultivate vines, but we cultivate life. We believe that busting life, cultivating biodiversity around the soil, above, deep into the soil, it's a way to create a balanced ecosystem, and also it's a way to favor resilience of vines, which is a concept very important today, especially with the climate change and the importance of adapting to the extreme situation of the weather. Biodynamic and organic farming are an inspiration to our philosophy, but we don't believe in dogmas and in protocol. We value the freedom and the importance of finding our own way.
Instead of following a protocol, over time we developed collaborations with botanics, geneticists, geologists, university professors and students who work closely with our historic team and help us to find ways to bring life in our vineyards and to regenerate our soils.
With experimentation, we make mistakes, and from mistakes we learn. And every day we discover that as little as is a vineyard is an immense universe that we will never end learning about. Giovanni, Rossana and myself, we continue to be beyond every project. We don't have specific titles because in the family there are no titles. We continue to produce wines from our own grapes. We continue to produce only the vintages that we believe are worth to be produced, and not aiming to produce perfect wines. Perfection doesn't exist in nature. There would be no evolution otherwise. Our goal is to deal with the little imperfection of a vintage, the little imperfections of a vineyard, and do the best we can with those little imperfections and actually transform them into an identity card. Our goal is to produce wines that are different and that they have a strong personality.
And most of all, thank you so much to all of you for your support. A toast to you. Grazie.
Grazie.